Hey Arizona Kettlebell Lifters, Coach B back. We're going to talk about our first swing here, the power swing, often referred to in America as the Russian swing. This is a kettlebell swing that comes up to approximately chest height with a dynamic or explosive hip hinging movement. First, we're going to talk about the first three common faults that we see with this type of kettlebell swing, and then we'll take a look at the swing in action and how to kind of correct that. So I have them written up here behind me. So with the Russian swing, the first thing that I see new lifters often do incorrectly is that they're going to squat the swing. Okay, so they're using more of a anterior loaded quad dominant type of movement rather than pushing back into the hips using a hip hinge style motion. The reason I usually see this is that most people's posterior chain is not well developed. So their body shifts the movement to the quads or the front of the thighs here. It makes it feel like they're doing more work, but in fact they're using the swing movement incorrectly, and they're not really getting as much out of the movement as they can. Plus, you know, who doesn't want a superior posterior, right? So by shifting back, we're going to use more of those glutes and the hammies there and get a more dynamic swing and also a better workout from that. Okay. The next big fault that we see is that people are leaning back or pulling back at the top of the swing trying to get some extra height there. Really, honestly, we don't really care how high the swing comes with the kettlebell as long as we're using our hips to push the kettlebell up, okay? And we're using a dynamic motion, which takes us to fault number 3, which is no pop in the hips, okay? This can be for a couple reasons. You know, if somebody's using a kettlebell that's too heavy, or they're using too much arms. They're trying to use the arms to raise it up. But really, the feeling of the kettlebell swing, especially when we're using the power or Russian style swing, is that it should be like a granny toss with a bowling ball. So I should be trying to throw the kettlebell out and away from me using my hips, using my legs, using my glutes specifically, the big butt tissue, okay? I'm gonna try to throw the kettlebell out. My arms are just here to hold on to it. So I don't wanna pull with the arms. I don't wanna pull with the back. Instead, I wanna use the hips to throw the kettlebell out and forward. Okay, so next let's take a look at the swing in action and what it should look like and what these faults look like if you're using them and how we can correct them. Okay, so let's take a look at those 3 movement faults and how they actually look when somebody has a kettlebell in their hands and how we can fix them. So first of all, it's important to understand what the position should look like. We basically have 2 positions with the power style swing. Okay, position 1 at the top. Okay, I'm with a nice plank, so nice and solid all the way from heel to head. Okay, nice and tight in the glutes, nice and tight in the abs. Hands out in front with a little bit of arm bend here. Okay, there'll be a little bit of natural backward lean to kind of counteract, counterbalance the kettlebell as it comes up in front of me, but I want to make sure I'm not yanking back. Okay, so nice tall plank position here. From here, the hands are going to slide in towards the body. So the hands come down. I'm going to push back into the hips. So the shins are relatively vertical here. I'm looking kind of straight ahead. My head to tailbone, everything here is going to be a nice straight line here. Again, staying nice and tight in the abs. I'm going to push through the hips. As I push up, the hand's going to come up in front. Okay, so again, back and up. Okay, so the first mistake that most people make, again, they're trying not to load the posterior. They're not used to using it. Maybe it's underdeveloped, so maybe it doesn't feel good because they're not, used to hinging. They don't understand the movement inherently. So the first mistake that most people do is that they're going to squat down. Okay, and this is going to make them feel like they're doing a lot of work. They're going to feel their thighs working here. They're still going to feel their glutes a little bit. But as they come up, it feels like a nice jumping movement. So it feels familiar to them, but they're squatting down. They're using kind of loading the wrong part of the body here rather than pushing back into the hips. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple reps here. Done incorrectly. Okay. Now, what we want to see is a proper hip hinge. Okay, so if I see somebody squatting like that, the first one I'm going to do is a little bit of wall reach drill. I'm going to put the hands out in front. I'm going to reach forward as I push the hips back. So I'm trying to touch the wall behind me with my butt. Okay, reach forward. You see a nice deep crease in the hips here, rather than reaching down through the floor here. So reach back, reach in both directions, and come up. So we can do a few of these to kind of warm up the pattern here. The other drill that we use a lot for this, that we borrow from Dan John, we like quite a bit. So hands in front, position 1 here, and throw the hands behind, throw the glutes out. Okay. Okay. So both of those are great movement patterns to kind of prime the body for doing proper swings. Okay. Let's take a look at again the squatted swing, and then we'll transition over to a hip hinge swing, which is what we want to see when we're using the kettlebell. So squatted, I'm going to reach down, throw the bell up, hip hinge. Okay, the real reason we want to hip hinge is use the body correctly here. A lot of times when we see a squatted style swing, we're going to be loading the back more than we really want to. Okay, so the next segment we'll take a look at keeping proper posture and taking the arm out of it. Make sure you're using enough pop in the hips. Thanks for tuning in.